Elizabeth Warren was overlooked, overshadowed, and frankly, counted out until recently. Yeah, recently a poll came out to show that Elizabeth Warren is coming back strong in Iowa. And she's been on the campaign trail selling. She's doing big box opening of policies that has people talking about Elizabeth Warren. The crowds are loving her, something that many people thought maybe Elizabeth Warren wasn't going to be well suited for. Her detailed, wonky disposition, her fine-tooth comb over the issues, well, didn't seem to work. But all of a sudden, that's changed. According to the new poll that's out, Elizabeth Warren is polling at a whopping 15%. That puts her right up there with Bernie Sanders. Statistically, she's tied with him. A three-way tie for second place in the Iowa caucuses. This is a great place for Elizabeth Warren to be. I don't think if she wrote it herself, she would have placed herself well above where she is right now. Now, one of the things that's happened, though, she's doing well in the polling, and there are a lot of people talking about her. There's a problem. There seems to be a disconnection between some of the more vocal people in the Democratic Party or some of the more vocal progressives in online media and in the grassroots media or grassroots on the ground who are not necessarily seeing Elizabeth Warren as this beacon of light. And some people are upset about it. Some people don't understand. Why aren't more people supportive of Elizabeth Warren? Why are people still, such as me, Tim Black, making videos saying Elizabeth Warren, not so fast? They say, Tim Black, aren't you progressives supposed to be about policy? They say, Tim Black, isn't it policy over personality and policy over party? And if that's the case, why aren't all of you progressives circling the wagons around the candidate who has produced legislation, policies, introducing policies that help champion for the 99% of Americans who you say are getting such a raw deal? Are you that butthurt that you can't see that Elizabeth Warren is the best thing you got going?
Look, I'm a huge Elizabeth Warren fan, and I've said that the backlash against her from some of the Bernie Sanders fans, and I would include myself in that, it's ridiculous. It's so over the top. There's not one candidate that's closer to the issues than Elizabeth Warren, and she's even better on some issues than Bernie Sanders is, and more detailed, I would say, with her tuition-free college plan. She's clearly worse on foreign policy and clearly worse on Medicare for all. There's no way around it. But I think what bothers people most about her is that she's very politicky in the things that she chooses not to focus on. So she's clearly distancing herself from Medicare for all. And it's kind of reminiscent of what she did in 2016, where she's made an obvious calculation and she doesn't really have an answer for it. And that's a bummer about her.
Emma made a lot of good points in this clip, but they kind of contradict themselves. 1 minute she's taking me down one road, which is why aren't these progressives being more supportive of Elizabeth? Elizabeth's great. She's got great policies that rival even Bernie Sanders. But then she explains it. Well, Elizabeth Warren isn't for Medicare for all. One of the prime tenets of most progressive indie media and grassroots. The drive for Medicare for all or some type of universal health care coverage is a guiding principle within many of us. Also, as Emma pointed out, Elizabeth Warren really doesn't have a policy reason for not supporting it. She just, as Emma, what's the word Emma used? Politicky. See, politicky is another word for cowardice. Politicky is another word for incrementalism and pragmatism and all these other words that, frankly, are very unexciting. What people are failing to realize is when you are fighting tooth and nail for things that matter for the people, when you are throwing caution to the wind, when you are speaking truth to power, that is fertility. And when you cower back into pragmatism, when you are second thinking, when you are falling in line, when you are resigning yourself to incrementalism, that is a form of impotence. Impotence is not exciting. It does not encourage support from the masses. So Emma Vigilant just answered her own question. That's one of the reasons why. But it goes further than that, because it's true. As Emma pointed out, Elizabeth Warren has a lot of policies. Let me just name a few of those policies. January 24th, she came up with a wealth tax. February 19th, universal child care. March 8th, breaking up the big tech companies. March 16th, housing. 27th, agriculture. April 2nd, corporate executive accountability. April 11th, corporate taxation. April 15th, public lands. April 22nd, student debt cancellation and free college. April 24th, maternal mortality. April 26th, military housing. May 2nd, Puerto Rico debt relief. May 8th, opiate crisis. May 15th, the military and climate change. May 16th, Pentagon contracting. May 17th, abortion. The 31st, indicting a sitting president. June 4th, economic patriotism. And June 4th, green manufacturing. Elizabeth Warren is killing it on the policy front. She got a policy for everything. She is the policy machine, is what she is. So why aren't more of us, including myself, why aren't I excited about Elizabeth Warren? It's very simple. What difference does it make if you support great policies, if you have great proposals, if the people don't believe that you will ride for those policies? I mean, not just say you'll ride, but literally ride on those policies. Fight tooth and nail, scorched earth, pin it down, go for all, go for broke, bang, swerve and bounce and push and shove to get those policies implemented. See, unless people can believe that that's your agenda, your mandate, your mission, what do you have? And what do they have if they put their trust in you and you fail to deliver? That's the issue. Now, why would you think that Elizabeth Warren was less than trustworthy? Why would we ever believe that Elizabeth Warren wouldn't go through with her policies, that she would be less than, I don't know, on it, that she would be less than 100% committed to the causes in which she champions, that she pays lip service to, that she sings the serenades of progressivism? Why would we think that she is pulling a Milli Vanilli on our ass and not delivering real notes from her own inner voice? I don't know. Maybe it would be this. Maybe it would be, there was a time when Elizabeth Warren said the system was rigged. Remember that?
You think, though, that what we're learning from Donna Brazil's book suggests that the campaign, that what the Democratic National Committee did, meant this election was rigged?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's a pretty powerful charge.
Well, what we have to focus on now as Democrats is we recognize the process was rigged. And now it is up to Democrats to build a new process, a process that really works and works for everyone.
Very quickly, Senator, do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
I want you to know that right there, that was everything. Oh, we've been waiting to hear someone say it. Bernie wasn't saying it, and now we got Elizabeth Warren out in front, being a leader and calling it like she sees it. She said the process was rigged. But not so fast, guys. Only a couple of days later, in another interview, Elizabeth Warren walked back everything that she had said in these two interviews. She said, oh, I misspoke. It wasn't rigged. They were just a little biased, but everything was fair. The difference between rigged and fair is the Grand Canyon. That's how deep the difference is. We're talking about the difference between being full and starving, the difference between fast and slow, the difference between leader and politician. When people were looking to Elizabeth Warren to be a leader, she played politics. Here we are, progressives. We had our mouths all ready for some great orange juice, and when we lifted up the carton, there was nothing in the carton. Someone had put the carton back in the refrigerator with all the orange juice gone. You can't do us like that. So people were more upset than if she would have just been quiet. What she did was call attention to the fact that she's playing politics with our emotions, with our country, with our democracy. And she couldn't pretend that she didn't know. She made a call, a judgment call, that she was going to throw us all under the bus because Democrats. And I would like to say that was it, but it's not it. What about Standing Rock? Some people question Elizabeth Warren because she says her mama and her papa told her she was Native American, but when no DAPL, no Dakota Access Pipeline, the Lakotas and the Dakotas were out there protesting a pipeline shoving through their sacred land, putting at risk their water, their source of life. Where was Elizabeth Warren doing all of this? Why didn't she speak to what was going on with the Dakotas and the Lakotas? Now, I know now she says, hey, she apologizes that she's not a Native American. You didn't really have to be Native American to support the indigenous people against the government who's running a pipeline through their land for money. But it does sting a little that you claim this identity and then you don't stand up for it. There's more. Why would Elizabeth Warren endorse Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, even though we all know that Bernie Sanders' policies are much more related to Elizabeth Warren's own policies than Hillary Clinton's? I mean, Hillary Clinton is pretty much a centrist, middle of the road. Some people call her Republican light. And instead of endorsing Bernie when it could have mattered in Massachusetts, she waits and waits and waits and finally endorses Hillary Clinton.
I'm with Hillary. For me, this choice is personal. It's about who we are as a people. It's about what kind of a country we want to be.
And then she didn't stand up and say, well, I'm going to do this. She just sort of laid back and cowered and avoided questions.
Have you personally decided who you're going to vote for in the Democratic presidential primary? And
I've already voted.
Can you share with us who you?
We already had the primary
right.
in Massachusetts. I voted 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Can you share with us who you voted for?
No, I haven't endorsed a candidate.
For many years, Elizabeth Warren, when she was asked to be a leader, she would do more of the falling back, more of the not stepping forward.
Earlier today, Senator Elizabeth Warren stopped by CBS This Morning to talk about her book, A Fighting Chance, and some other political news. But most of the 8-minute-long interview was spent trying to get the senator to actually answer a question. Take a listen.
Hillary Clinton could announce any day now. Do you think she's the future of the Democratic Party?
Well, I think we have to see, first of all, if she declares.
Does she represent the Democratic Party that you believe the Democratic Party ought to be?
I don't think the Democratic Party is a static thing. The Democratic Party is very much about drawing contrast, frankly, with the Republican Party.
If someone doesn't challenge Hillary Clinton in a primary, do you think that debate will happen? Do you think there needs to be a vigorous debate within the Democratic Party?
Look, I think there needs to be a vigorous debate in the whole question about running for president. I think everyone who's running for president should be talking about what they plan to do to strengthen and rebuild America's middle class.
It's hard to get you to be more specific.
I'm sorry, what was not specific about let's reduce the interest rate on student loans to 3.89%?
You've been saying that in a lot of you've been saying that. What we're trying to understand is that you really have become the voice of a wing of the Democratic Party and maybe all of the party. And what we want to know is where does Elizabeth Warren want to see this party go?
Oh, golly, how could you not know?
Minimum wage and where you differ from former Secretary of State Clinton.
Well,
why can't you tell us that? Why isn't that interest in the interest of a full and debate about the future of the country, the future of the Democratic Party, and who the nominee ought to be?
Charlie, I'll tell you where I stand on all of the key issues. It's up to others to say whether they stand there as well or they stand in some different place.
Name me one thing that you would like to see Hillary Clinton do and say and commit to that she has not committed to.
Well, I'd like to see her address all of these issues.
Charlie Rose joined CBSN earlier today to explain why Warren may have been trying to avoid answering some of his questions.
She's a politician, you know, and she does not want to say certain kinds of things because it may, in her judgment, it may limit her options. That's what, not the option to run for president or not, but just options to maneuver.
There you go. Playing politics. It's disgusting how much politics Elizabeth Warren was playing. And for somebody who came in there saying she was a professor, and she got in it for the fight, you know, the fight for the people. She put out a book about fighting back. She doesn't do a whole lot of fighting back when it comes to the establishment. She does a lot of laying back, a lot of laying down, a lot of throwing the fight. I mean, if you're going to put your money on a fighter, you probably shouldn't be somebody who's willing to throw the towel in all the time. You want somebody who's going to go the distance. You know, and on top of all of that, there are other issues. There's the way that she supported the military-industrial complex. In her home state of Massachusetts, she's known for being in bed with military contractors such as Raytheon, taking corporate money from Raytheon and taking money from Emily's List and other corporate entities. Not really something that inspires a whole lot of trust and enthusiasm from progressive voters. Look, so, you know, a lot of people are trying to make this about, well, Elizabeth Warren's a woman and they just want Bernie or they want a guy. No. I mean, we want somebody who's going to fight for us. Elizabeth Warren has showed that she's not a person who's willing to fight for us. She's a person who's willing to go up to a certain point and then she'll say, hey, I need to do what's best for me. And that's not a person that we want to support. That's not and you should not question why we feel that way. Who wants a relationship with a candidate who shows time and time again that when the chips are down, she's getting up out of there? Hey, Elizabeth Warren, we're going to go in here and we're going to kick some butt. Let's do it. Let's fight. Elizabeth, where'd you go, Elizabeth? I thought you said you were going to fight with us to help, Elizabeth. Time and time again, Elizabeth Warren is out of there when you need her. So what I would like for all these people that support Elizabeth Warren to do me one favor, in fact, do us all a favor. Stop telling us that we're wrong not to trust her. And stop pretending like these clips I played you are one-offs and they don't show a pattern of flaccid spine, a spine of sand. I would love to be wrong. I would love for Elizabeth Warren to have turned over a new leaf, to be a new person who's willing to go up against the establishment. But would that be just wishful thinking, or would it be based on something tangible? See, you can come up with a million policies, but if you have really no intention of fulfilling any of them or taking them all the way to the top, if you have no intention of dying on the hill, if necessary, then it's just paper. Or is it just a ploy to pull votes from a Bernie Sanders and get them yourselves to stop Bernie from winning? So there's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to Elizabeth Warren. And I know the David Pakmans and the Sam Cedars and the Anna Kasparians love Elizabeth Warren. But what do you have to say about what I just laid out for you? This, folks, is a clinic on why we feel the way we feel about Elizabeth Warren. If you disagree Anna Kasparian. If you disagree, Sam Cedar. If you disagree, David Pakman. Lay out your video describing to me in full detail with receipts why Elizabeth Warren's great. And don't just tell me policies. Don't just show me policies. We realize that with every candidate, every politician, it's always a certain point, it's a roll of the dice. You have to go with your gut and say, you know what? Let's see what they do. Will they do what they say they're going to do? But if we don't feel totally comfortable with Elizabeth Warren, maybe it's not us who has the problem. Maybe Elizabeth Warren has a problem. And if you want to browbeat us because we don't support Elizabeth Warren the way that you do, that we're not willing to just go on, I don't know, the fact she's got glasses or the fact she's got a great smile or the fact that she puts forth a lot of policies, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're wrong. Please, do us all a favor and share this content because I want to hear what my friends in independent media and my friends in corporate media have to say about Elizabeth Warren because I'd like to know what their rebuttal is. Please, do tell Morning Joe, do tell David Pakman, do tell Anna Kasparian, do tell. Why do you feel so comfy with a candidate who hasn't shown you that they'll stand up for anything? Follow me at Tim Black, Real Tim Black on Facebook and Twitter. Email me at tim@timblacktv.com.